lots to talk about today. Got lots to show you, and of all shapes and sizes, clubs, bags, demos, you name it. We're going to talk about it on What's in My Drawers Golf Talk next. Welcome back to What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. Why is it What's in My Drawers? Because old club makers and club fitters are tremendous pack rats, and I'm no different. It's about what was in the drawers of the shop. And it's turned into a really cool conversation that's going around the world. And we talk about golf club repairs, golf club reviews, and golf club fittings, opinions, and, well, just about anything else that might come up to mind. So to get things started, as we normally talk about, we saw John Rahm won on TV. The dude was on fire with that putter. I mean, the dude was golfing the ball just like nobody's business. So congratulations to him. Max Homa made him work for it. It wasn't a freebie win, that's for sure. So good for him. I think that'll give him some confidence going into the next tournament that they play. So that's a good thing. So congratulations to them. Stuff that's going on in the shop. This is a good one. Stuff that's going on in the shop. So first and foremost, we've, in talking with Kim Braley, we picked up some what they call PGIs, Players Graphite Irons. And they're in several different weights, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100 grams. Now, Mr. Braley was nothing but short of excited about these in comparison to the other ones. And I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that unless you're a gorilla, these are better. Okay, unless you're extraordinarily hard in your transition, the PGIs are better. I've been playing with them, testing them. And so here's something to look at right here. So that's the tip sections of all those different ones. And you can only imagine as the hole gets smaller, that the weight gets heavier. I still haven't quite figured out what the white rings are just as of yet. I'm going to assume it's some sort of stiffener of some variety that has to be very, very light. But I thought that was interesting that they were so significantly different for the weights. And the flexes the flexes go with the weight. Now, which brings up the conversation of, is it flex or is it weight that's more important? And I'm going to cover that in a different video that's coming up. Alrighty, and as we're talking about that, like and subscribe down in here if you would. That way you get more of the videos that when they drop, and this word gets out to more people that are out there. I really appreciate it. Alrighty, so we did some work. We started off with a reshaft, and we put some pure DTX grips on some Modus shafts. I believe they're the 105s, and they look like that. So what these were Srixons. They were Srixon ZX7s, and a gentleman had brought them in and wanted to be fit to them. And he had played them and he enjoyed them, but he thought that the shaft was far too much. And it was. He had something equivalent to an X-Flex, and we put him in the Rs, and it was just by changing the shaft, because I still had, those were last year's models, and I still had last year's model head still with the connector in it. So we used that as a test platform to compete. The minute I put that shaft in there, it was could literally make, it was 3/4 of a club's difference. So that transmission is really important. Okay, really important. So we go from there, and then we start going into some white grips. These are the 2Gs from Golf Pride, and these are going on to some Mizuno Pros. All right, Mizuno Pros. These things have been turning out to be quite the little performer. And, of course, we put them on some PGIs. These are the 100s. And the golfer that I put them on for this the results for this particular setup were just night and day different. You know, the best part about this fitting was he was not really particular about too much anything. He liked the Mizuno brand, but if we found something different, he would be okay with that. And we tested some other ones. Turns out that one worked just fine. And then we started messing around with shafts, and he's at that 100-gram range, and as soon as he hit that thing, it was a different game altogether. So, and it's the PGIs who just happened to be talking about that, and they turned out very, very well. I was real happy with them. And right now I've got another set of Mizunos. Those are forged, I believe, that are sitting on the rack, and they've got some, what do they have in them? I believe they got a graphite shaft in them, and then I've got 2 more sets that we need to take apart and put back together. I'm going to use those as the first boxes to builds for 2023. We've got a late start. We're already into February. All right, let's see some other stuff. Got some barbecue going. That was a piece of brisket, and then I did the other side of the brisket. I did some burnt ends, those turned out to be really good. And then I did some baked beans with the brisket. So now I'm hungry. I know I think I may have told you guys before, but tonight there'll be a video on it, or tonight or tomorrow. Went to the Cincinnati Golf Show, and it was a lot of fun. We got to meet with Jason. He's the guy that runs the golf exchange that's there. They've got like 6 stores in the surrounding area. Nice guy. He's got his eye on the prize. He's really getting ready to put it together. And then we got these guys. There's Jared, and for the life of me, I can't remember. Anyway, the guy on the right is a PGA instructor, and he's all about trying to gain you speed, and he likes the single length clubs. And we talked about a lot of different things. The fellow on the left is a guy that talks about how to do stretches and do release points in order to make you a little bit more flexible. So that's very, very interesting. And then this is just 2 more pictures. And then, so they had a lot of entertainment there, which you normally see at these golf expos. I don't know where you're at, but in the past, it's been nothing more than a place for people to dump off last year, 3 year, 4 year ago items in order to, because they've got a focused group. And then you're normally trapped by people wanting to sell you credit cards and things like that. And Jason really did a good job on trying to turn that around. Yes, some of that still existed because there's a guy that has a very, very, very large business, and he bought some large booth space. But what we found is that the PGA was there, the LPGA was there, a local laser finder, range finder was there, a turf factory was there, a couple of driving ranges were there. I mean, it was a very well spread out. Pickleball was there, and then they had these skill things, and this was the one where you flip it over, try and hit it over the sign. And then if you do that one, then you can go to the tall sign. And this is a $5 entry fee that goes to all the volunteers. It doesn't even go back to the golf show. And if you can get it over the other one, you get like, I think you get $100 or you get a free round of golf or something like that at one of the local courses. So not too bad. And then there's the Wilson rep for us. And the guy in the back is the Cobra rep. So that was kind of cool to get all that taken care of. So it was a pretty eventful week, and it kept going. So as far as fittings go, I had a tremendous diversity of fittings from some folks in their upper 70s to a guy in his 30s and just hitting the ball clean out of sight. So it was really neat to see the differences and how they worked out. All righty, new stuff. I've been waiting on these guys. They finally showed up, and these are the Dynapowers, the Wilson Dynapowers. I don't know if I showed you the woods, but we certainly did not have the irons. And there's the iron. It's probably better back here. So what you have, it's a wide sole. The power slots that's just oily. Power slots are a little bit more forward, meaning that the face is a little thinner. The weight, normally in this one, like in the D9, this would be a really deep cavity. What they've done is put a little bit of weight right here to get the ball probably up in the air a little bit more. And it does seem to have, it's not a gross amount of offset, although it looks like it right there. If I was to tilt it the right way, there you go. It does have offset. It's just not a huge amount of offset. And they both come in left and right-handed. I like the detail now. We got the badge, and you got the Dynapower. It's a good look. It's a really good look. So I'm can't wait to get started on that, because I do have the lefties all ready to go. I just got to bend one up, and then those things are in play. And I'm not sure if I showed you these or not, but there's one. Now these are adjustable, as you can tell right there by the little screw. And this one is it's a metal top, and it's a little taller in the face, where this guy, and it's noticeably lighter. This guy has a lot more carbon on it. All right, and it's a little sleeker look. So, and we're going to figure out what's what. I'm thinking that the metal top is a little bit more boring trajectory, where the other one is your standard get the ball up in the air stuff. Okay. Okay, some other things to show you. Oh, here's one. It's kind of unique. I've got a bag here I want to show you, but it's holding golf clubs, so we're going to take them out one at a time. So here's one that we're going to talk about as far as boxes to builds. Look at that bad boy. A 2-iron from Hogan. And we're going to reshaft them with something that's a little bit easier to hit. This is for an older gentleman, and he loves golfing with this stuff. And we're going to take this piece out and put something in that's way more friendlier. He just likes the idea of hitting the traditional club. And so he's got a 2 all the way down into the first E, which is the pitching wedge. And so we're going to put these guys together and see what we can do about making them look really, really good. All right, so we got that one. So something else I wanted to show you and kind of inform you guys. Paradigm, right? Paradigm's getting a lot of press. The irons go far. They feel good. I've seen in some of the fittings, it's crazy. If you guys are looking to pick up a little distance, not lose any control, have a little bit more feel, Paradigm's where it's at as far as that category goes. Now, not everybody needs that category, right? They got plenty of distance. Well, if you're a guy that hits a standard 6-iron, 200 to 210, 220, the 7-iron would be ridiculous for you to hit, so it's not in your category. However, if you're a mere mortal like the rest of us, that could be a consideration. And the feel in these particular ones, dramatic improvement over the previous models. That's what I'll tell you from that. All righty, but what we're here to show you are the fairway woods. All right, the fairway woods. So the first one is the regular Paradigm. All right, the brother, can you spare Paradigms? And what you can notice is that it's got the weight up here in the front. It's got the cap, and so this one doesn't necessarily have that whole carbon chassis, because you see a ring that goes all the way around it right here. But it does have a lot of carbon on the bottom, has a lot of carbon on the top, and it is adjustable. All right, they brought back adjustability. Now, there's a limit to this, so that's the reason why we've got to talk about it. But it's the 3. It's adjustable just like everything else. It's to a -1, +1, +2 with neutrals and draws. This one just happens to have the hazardous silver in it. And I believe that's going to be a good shaft going forward for them. Now, the next one is the Paradigm X. The Paradigm X. And now, the thing with the design on a lot of these is you're going to see these right here. And these are the new V rails. And a lot of fairway woods have had a lot of success with rails. And if you notice, these aren't as deep as maybe the La Joillas or even the Cobras, but you're going to see a lot of those type of things in, say, I believe TaylorMade, even Titleist might have some, but although they're not as pronounced as the other ones. Again, the weight is up in here. However, what it is that this is more, the X, although they don't want you to think of it like that, is more, they say, workable, which means that if you're a fader of the ball, this is the way you want to go. Okay. And hazardous again. Now keep all this in mind. We're seeing a lot of adjustability. Then the last one, the Paradigm Triple Diamond. Now the thing with these is they're just not all different heads and everything's the same. What else? The head shapes on these are very much different. The way that the lie angles are very much different. So they each have specific tendencies or fit a specific type of golfer. So in the past, they would say, oh, this is for the better, this is for the average, this is for the guy that needs a little more help. And they were just more of the same, just, quick changes. These are significantly different. All right. So again, you'll see the rails, plus it's got a little bit more of a weight in the front to get that boring trajectory. Now this one is a 13.5, where I think the rest of them are 14s. The head is significantly smaller. It's not as pear-shaped, it's smaller, which gives the face just a little bit more height. Okay, and again, it is adjustable. And this comes with the, and I'm just going to say it wrong, Callaway 70 in it. So for a guy that's a pretty strong golfer. Now, here's where the change starts. So all the threes were adjustable. All right, all the threes are adjustable. If you decide you want a 5 or a 7, they certainly do make that. There's one for you. However, not adjustable. All right, not adjustable. The 5s and the 7s or anything after the 3 will not be adjustable. So just know that going forward. All right, that's just information for you to make a better purchase. So now what was this in? This is the best part. This is something we just got this in today, brand spanking. 2023 Sun Mountain. This is the C130 bag. For those of you that like the red, white, and blue like I've got back here, right? I really like that bag, but it's getting ready to see its day because of all the goings in and out of the truck. And I was really looking hard at this guy. And as you can tell, it's got the USA logo on it. I'm not going to go over everything, but 1, 2, 3. This is the valuables, tees and balls. This is the one. Now, the one thing I really like about this one, it's magnetic. I do like that for the rangefinder. It's a little bit bigger. It's got all kinds of pockets, obviously. Let's see. It's not a cooler, but it is. It's got material in it instead of a velour. And then, of course, glove and towel holder. Now, the other thing that I really liked about this is these guys right here. Those things attach to your basket so that if for some reason you're a bonehead and don't put on the cart strap, this will keep it on there and keep your clubs from getting the how shall we say it, the embarrassing road rash or even breakage. Of course, it's got they put a little bit of something right there. And again, some more pockets of the same. And there's the cooler. There's a for real cooler. And a pin holder that I don't know why they've ever put it there. I don't know about you, but I've never used it. And again, the place for where the cart bag can go through, or the cart strap can go through there, amongst a few other things. Oh, forgot to show you the top. Okay, big putter well, big holes in there. And in previous models, these were always the problem children. They were always really, really small, and they were triangular shaped. So apparently they've figured out the geometric pattern. Okay. I think we need to go here. All right. So that's where we're at. Lots going on, right? And lots of testing. I did some testing on the Mizuno forged club with the PGI, and that was a quite a really nice surprise. And then I did the testing on all the PGI shafts. That was quite the surprise. So those are videos that are coming out into the near future. And then we got to start hitting drivers. And so it's coming around. I think it's going to be a good year for the driver. All right. I think we got it all covered. Let's go answer some questions. Let's go to the top. Here we go. There's Matt. Shot a 79 at 40-mile-an-hour winds. Woo! Did not make a birdie. All right. Describe how important the length of the club is during the fitting session. Thank you, Matt. Well, it is basically one of the most important things you can find right out of the gate. All right. It is when they talk about doing dynamic lie angles. That's all grand, but the lie angle is dependent on length in order for you to hit it properly. Length is exactly equal to consistency. So once you get the right length, regardless of the weight of the shaft or the flex, the right weight, you can or the right length, I'm sorry, not weight, right length, regardless of all the other stuff, you can be more consistent and hit better shots. Now, weight will come into play later, but length is paramount for consistency. And that's true across the spectrum, whether it be putters, wedges, irons, drivers, the whole nine yards. So it is extraordinarily important. In fact, it's the very first thing that we test for when we're doing our fittings. Good one, Matt. Manuel, what do you say, buddy? Jim, Rob, and the rest of the golf gear heads on here. To me, length is the first thing I fit to. You are the man. Too long, too short, you won't find the center club face, and for putters too. Look at that, man. Woohoo! All right, congrats to John Rahm with his win. Did you know his putter is a White Hot Rossi with the old micro hinge face? Well, I did know it was the Rosie, but I thought it was a new one. And it also has not the very first marking on the top. It's plain, and that's just the way he likes it. But he was on fire. He was just hitting really, really good and very deserving of the number one title. All righty, Mr. Bartholomew. Here we go. Number 12. That's a number 12. And it starts with a D. For the life of me, I can't read. It just hit me all of a sudden. But Dalmore, that's what it is. Dalmore, 12. Good stuff. All righty. What's your take on Fujikura Axiom Graphite Iron Shaft? It has the Velocore technology in it. Well, I haven't had a chance to even see one, Charlie. I wouldn't know. The Velocore technology is something that it's twofold. One of it, I believe it helps with the stiffness of the club and at least not letting it go, and a little bit vibration stuff, as best as I can figure it. Fuji does not put out a bad graphite shaft. It just sometimes doesn't fit people. And that's true. That I can say that of every single graphite company out here, right? They tailor their stuff to a certain spot, and sometimes it fits, sometimes it don't. But if you get it, it's certainly a high quality shaft to be sure. Knowing Fuji, you'd have to really let it go, release late in order for it to work for you. All right, not having it. Yeah, he did. That's really great. Mr. Jones, thank you for joining us yet again. Peter, how are you, sir? Glad to see you're with us. Oh, and thanks to everybody for joining us on today's President's Day for those of us in the States. The place where I work does not celebrate that stuff, so Robin had to remind me that's where we're at. Another one for Callaway. Yep. You know what? They've put a lot of investing into. They invest a lot into research and development. That's their thing. And it shows. Are they the best in every category? No. They want to be the best in every category, but like in the driver category, if you look at my Golf Spy, the Ping won hands down in their testing. Nobody was even close. And was it the Stealth? Sorry, Stealth 2. But everybody liked the Ping. The Ping was second, and it just rolls downhill from there. In a couple of the categories, I believe Callaway finished, fourth or fifth. So, and that's that setting. In another setting, it might go the other way around. Who knows? But what I can tell you is that if you pick a driver out of this year's category, you're probably not going to be unhappy. All right. Michael Moody. Hi. Great to hear you. Well, thank you. Mr. Broderick, what do you say, sir? Can't wait for the new Makefield putters to come in. Hope all is well. I like that picture. That's certainly an airplane engine. Mr. Joe is our resident airplane mechanic, and he goes everywhere. Goes everywhere. So yeah, and we've had another individual come in looking for the new ones as well, Joe. So we've hit them up to get us some demos, and they are working on it even as we speak. I am golf as opposed to Mick Golf. Well done, buddy. Can we discuss the cheaper one length irons? I am looking into PGX one iron lengths, replacing the shafts with Project X ciphers and adjusting the loft 3 degrees stronger on the 4 and 5. Okay. I'm not familiar with the PGX to be sure, but the ciphers, the 60s, the cipher shaft is actually very nice. It's on obviously it's on the Project X platform, but it's made to have a little bit more stiffer in the butt, a little bit more friendly in the tip section for when this happens. And it's a good little shaft. I mean, the best shaft for one links out there. It has to go with Pedersen. He makes each and every shaft specific for that task. Okay, we got that. And however, if you like the weight and you got the flex, it shouldn't be too bad. Going 3 degrees stronger in the 4 and the 5, I'd have to say why. Now, yes, I know that when you talk about one length, the standard complaint is you hit the wedges too far and you don't hit the upper irons far enough. And what I have found, I am golf, is that when you get the 5 is the breaking point. And what happens is most golfers go, I got this 5, it's got to go this distance, I've got to muscle one out there. And when you muscle one out, it typically turns out to being a poor golf swing. And as soon as you relax, it goes out and goes out there, and it goes out pretty good. However, it's really a mental focus that you've got to get into that particular frame of mind. Now, the 4 iron, the 4 iron's a tough animal. Unless you're swinging pretty quick, the 4 iron would be hard to get off the ground, and that would be true of any 4 iron, right? Because the new standard 4 irons of this era are running around, 20, anywhere from 18 to 21, depending on the set. And those are really hard to get off the ground and get any real airtime as an iron. That's the reason why hybrids are so successful. So after you put in the new shafts, I would give the clubs a run to see whether or not they work for you before you do any lofting on it, and then adjusting the loft 3 degrees stronger, because keep in mind, when that loft goes like that, so does the ball flight. So you got to be careful of that. Now, if you're a guy that pops it up into the air, that might be the very thing that you need to do. So keep that in mind. All right. James Bizans, should I shorten my wedges? It all depends. Are they too long? I know that sounds like a really smart alecky way of answering it. James, if your regular irons, let's just say they're half an inch short, should your wedges be down in that neck of the woods with them? Yes, that would be my opinion. All right, if you're running standard length clubs and you have standard length wedges, I do not see the need to do that, assuming that you are hitting them well. Now, if you're hitting diggers or hitting behind it, and again, there's a lot of assumptions going on here, that you're not burying it on the back foot, you're not trying to hit it off the back, that you're actually hitting wedge shots, because the wedge is it's a club that you can use in lots and lots of situations. So whether you want to hit off the back, hit off the front, hit off the middle, whether you're hitting an up stroke or down, whether you're just hitting a little punch onto a green, or you're trying to flop one up over a bush or something along that lines, They all have different things. So what I would say is I like putting them in line with the irons. And in right now, either one of two ways of doing it. Either one, they're all the same length as the pitching wedge, so that as they get more loft, they get heavier, so it's to get easier to get under. Or in order to keep them feeling the same, it's 1/4 inch increments, and that's what we do. All right. My dog Rex, Florida's at 78. That sounds absolutely perfect. And thank you for the thumbs up on it. Thanks for the chat. No problem. We'll be dropping by the Apex Raws. Cool. Maybe we can turn that into something. So here's a couple of questions, and you guys can help me out. Boxes to Builds videos are really intended to help guys that like working on golf clubs and to show you that there's different, the techniques I use in order to get out there. Does that mean it's going to work for everybody? Certain people probably not, but at least it gives you an idea or a starting point. And I wanted to do 24 videos last year, 2 a month, in order to get to that. And we did at the very end. Now I got to start all over. I'm going to revisit a lot of these things. And so the question is, should I start with the head of the club or should I start with the grip of the club in order to do these things? Let me know down in the show notes and let's figure this one out. Manuel says 79 is a good score in any win, and I would have to agree. Man, how did your golfing go, Manuel? You had that, you had a Saturday or a Sunday tee time last weekend? How'd that turn out? Hammer! I'm changing my driver's shaft in my G400 from a stock 55 gram to an Aldila NVS 45. Are you seeing a lot of senior golfers making moves to these really light driver shafts? If they can handle them, yeah. I'm trying to figure out how to really answer this one in the most appropriate manner. So what we are finding out is I've had a lot of seniors, and when seniors is a relative term, right? I've had guys that are in like the upper 70s guy. He ended up, I still end up fitting him into some regular shafts because he still could release the club very, very well. Now, he liked the lightest regular shaft I could get him. So that should help you out. And the Aldila NVS is no joke, right? The Aldila NVS is a really, really good shaft. So even if you were to tug on it, be like a 3/4 swing or something along that lines, it'll still stay with you. Unfortunately, like the stock 55 gram in the G400. I have to say I'm not very impressed with the Ping stock shaft offerings. But I think when you put it into this NVS and the G400, that you're going to like it a lot. All right. Danny Freeman, those pure grips look good. I think I'll be trying some of those. Not a big jump from the Golf Pride Tour wraps. Well, now let's keep this one in mind, Danny. The ones I was showing you in the pictures, those are DTXs. Those are extraordinarily aggressive. They're really great for gripping, right? And if you're talking about tour wraps and you really like that smoother feel, that something like this, right? If you're looking at something that's like this, and this is a tour velvet, all right, it's a 360. If you're liking something like that, they do make one that is actually stickier, all right? Both Star and Pure make one. They're probably under the Pro label. Then they have that Tour Velvety, but they're very, very sticky. They have a different texture consistency going on. Now, if you have the sweaty hands thing and you want a little bit more grip where it's gripping you back, then that DTX is the way to go, right? That thing is, I always used to say it's like grabbing a truck tire, but it's very aggressive. It's not cut into your skin aggressive, but you know exactly where your hands are on that club. And if you like that, and there you go. Plus, they come in a variety of colors. There's Matt. Lost my regular game. Oh, I lost my regular game with my buddy. He shot 3 birdies and 2 bogeys for a 71. Michael Moody. I'm getting for Hot Metal Pros this Friday. Can't wait. I don't think you're going to be disappointed, Michael. And if you're looking at the pros, I would also give the Forged a ride if you could. I think that the difference is going to be feel, and I believe the Forged are just a hair weaker, but they're not so far off. That it really surprised me. It was like a 24-degree 5-iron and a 44-degree pitching wedge, so it's not too far off, right? So I wouldn't necessarily count those out either if you like that look. And remember to get everything else taken care of. I know, right, Chris? Jamie, I'm like, man, I'm waiting when we get done here. I think a brisket sandwich is in my future. Woo, because we had all kinds of leftovers. That's hitting it really. Yes, it was, Emmanuel. Do I like the DryTech Light grips? I'd like the DryTech grips. The DryTech Lights are a little firmer. In order to be light, what they had to do is they had to firm up the underlisting, and so that it doesn't have the cushion. If that's what you're looking for, it doesn't have the cushion of the normal DryTechs. So it's a give and take. If you like a lighter weight that gives you a little bit more head weight feel, or you like a firmer style synthetic grip, then that's the way to go. It's the same in some cases, it's the same outer coating. It's just wrapped over a harder inner layer, and that's what it's all about. But yeah, they're not bad. It's more of a preference feel. Took it to you last. Well, Matt, I don't see that lasting very long. I mean, I really don't see that lasting very long. Here's Robin talking to Joe. Thanks for the cinnamon rolls. Joe brought us cinnamon rolls, by the way. The Cinnabons, and oh my God, they were great. Al Burnett from the Space Coast. It was packed today. I can only imagine. I mean, if we're looking at mid 70s weather in Florida in February, there's a whole lot of Northerners down there just wanting to hit golf shots, just wanting to do it. You know, we're going to have our shot at it in April, so we're going to see how that works out. Danny Freeman, going from an 85-gram steel shaft to a 60 grams graphite shaft, how much head weight difference will you feel? Well, okay, Danny, the physics of it will be that the club obviously is going to be lighter by about 15 grams. So on an average, right around 1.5 to 2 swing weights ish, okay? And so, you know, the club itself, the total weight is going to be lighter. It's going to be way easier to swing. And I don't see any problem as long as you're handling it, it's fine. As far as head weight feel goes, it's dependent, okay? I've had guys in here, I've given lighter shafts, and they go, wow, this club is heavier. Because now that weight is removed, if you remove the weight here, that feel's got to go somewhere, and typically it's right there. Okay, and I've seen it more times than not now where a golfer will comment on after I've given them a club that is just even 10 grams lighter, that they go, wow, you can really feel the head on this one, and it will have a sensation of feeling heavier because the head feels heavier. That's the reason why. So I wouldn't be surprised if you go, you know, and the thing is, if you're doing it yourself, don't pick them up and don't try and just swing each one of them. Just change them out, put the grips on them, and then pick them up. And you'll notice, I don't know if you'll really know, you'll probably notice a little more head feel. Yeah, if you're having them done, it's not a problem. Hey, look at that. There you go. He's answering it. We agree. Do you like the Golf Pride Plus 4 grips for wedges? I most certainly do. I like them for a lot of clubs. The MCC Plus 4s, the CP2s, either the Wrap or the Pros, which are in the same model style, basically less taper, are some of the biggest grips or the most grips that we sell in the shop. And I like them because choke down, when you go to choke down on it, you don't feel like you're choking down on a spaghetti noodle. And when you're talking about wedges, that's a real possibility, right? And so, yeah, I don't think that's a bad call at all. Steve Bird, hi from England. Well, look at you. Thank you for staying up so late. My club fitter says I need a standard length iron, but I feel more comfortable quarter-inch shorter. I am 5'10". Do you think I'm okay with shorter lengths? Okay, so Steve, a quarter-inch shorter in reality is not going to be that much of a difference. If you like it quarter-inch shorter, then it's quarter-inch shorter. So in what we're saying here, OEMs make clubs in two different categories. They make them on the half of an inch or they make them on the quarter of an inch. So what you'll see is clubs that are, say, 35 and 3/4, 35 and a quarter, and so on, where the other ones are 35 and a half and 35, period. Now, what I would suggest is, so that you guys get the best of both worlds, is that, let's say for the 5-iron, the standard length might be 38. Have him cut the raw shaft down to 37 and 3/4 and then put the grip on it. And then when it measures out, you're probably pretty close to 38 instead of that 38 and a quarter. That's probably the best way to go. But if you're a super duper low handicap and you just feel that's the way to go, then go with that and see. But and the testing would have bared out if you were if he gave you standard length club and you choked down that quarter of an inch and you started striping it even better, then the proof's in the pudding, and I would go with that. But I've had folks ask this very same question while we're in fittings, and we'll test it. I said, "Can you tell the difference?" And if they say yes, then I make a note and I say, okay, everything I would normally prescribe, I'll just cut it a quarter of an inch less, and away we go. Because the impact from the dynamics of the golf club are almost zero. All right, I look at the specs of the Dynapowers. The lofts are really strong. Yes, they are. They're basically a cousin to the D9s. Chris S., he's waving at us, I guess. Apparently the emojis don't transfer over here. John Timmons, what do you say, buddy? Warming up in Arizona. Nice. Courses packed from leftover Super Bowl crowd. Are they still there? Holy smokes. That one day that would be kind of cool to go to the play on that where the waste management's at. That would be really neat. I know that I would assume that they take down the stadium portion of it in order to grow the grass around it, but it would be super duper nice. I just think it would be super duper nice. Steve saying hi, Robin. Past my prime. He's back. McGolflanders. There you go. Missed the last couple of weeks. Caught up on the likes nevertheless. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. How's everything going? I like to hear what's going on. All right. Oh, his triple diamond came in today. Well done. You're gonna have to let me know how it works, bud. What shaft did you end up getting in it? Did you go with the silver or the Kyalea, or what did we put in this beastie of a beast? Now, I will say this: in the fitting of these clubs, I have pulled out the triple diamond for the better hitters, or guys, better hitters, faster swing speeds, just to see what's going on. And the triple diamond does set a little bit open. It's a little smaller at address. It's a little taller in the face. All the things that you would expect the triple diamond to be. And like the young man I had in here that just hit the ball a country mile. I had him bouncing it out right at 300, and we had him in the middle with the Paradigm, and I used the slider just ever so slightly to tweak. I said, well, here, let's just try the Paradigm. Let's try the triple diamond. Push, boom, push, boom, push. Everything's a push. You couldn't get it closed. So it's right there, and it's using the same exact shaft. So yeah, it was pretty good. All right. Do the PGI shafts snap at the bottom, or do they feel like boards? No, dude, Charlie, they feel good. I have to admit and I've got a set of the TGIs in some of the older new levels that I had. And yes, the TGIs were extraordinarily boardy, particularly in the 90-gram category. And he and Mr. Braley acknowledged that. And these things were just amazing. And I will say this. So my FlightScope X3 monitors club head acceleration. So it'll tell me if I'm releasing a little early, dumping a little bit sooner, or if I'm accelerating. So I'm going to try and use this. So if I go this way, here we go. If I go this way through it, I'm looking for that and on a graph. And out of, was it 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. 5 out of the 6 shafts were accelerating straight through for me. And you've seen my swing, so you can go from there. I got to say I'm pleasantly surprised. Now, I will say this. Those will be the clubs I test irons with just because I now have a base. But I have some new ones from Acura. They're called the VRTX, and it's on a Project X platform, and it's very much as the VRTX driver shafts, which we had all kinds of luck with last year. This VRTX comes in a 60, 70, 80 gram VTRX. There you go. VRTX. I'm right. VRTX. So there. VRTX, and it's the lighter one's just slightly high, the 70s a mid high, and then the 80s a little bit lower. And I've hit the 70 in this thing thinking that, it's going to be gross. And it was actually quite nice as well with a different style of paint job. So, yeah, I think in iron shafts, we're going to have the VRTX, the PGIs, the Acura standards, which new ones are coming out. As far as from a graphite point of view, there shouldn't be a thing I can't find to work, because I can go from 40 grams all the way to 110. So yeah, we should be good. And I'm going to be filling out the Nippon with that 850 Neo. Once we get that guy in here, it's going to be something else. Alan Campbell, Dynapowers for D9 Forge, Dynapower driver versus the Cortex. Have enough info to compare these clubs yet? Well, I can tell you that it depends on what you're looking at. The Dynapowers are basically going to be an upgraded version of the D9s. All right, so they're going to be a distance club. They're going to have a longer blade, a little bit more offset than the D9 Forged, a slightly wider sole. I believe the spring off the face is going to be significantly more, and so that you're going to get a little bit more launch. If that silver piece in the back, this piece right here, if that is actual weight, and the more I play with it, I believe that it is, that we're going to get some really decent trajectories out of it. And so that could really change the feel of this golf club. Now, the D9 Forged is obviously, it's a bigger iron in comparison to all the others. I would put the Dynapower in that game improvement kind of category, bumping up against the other one, because it's distance oriented. The D9 Forged is more of the distance players club category. Yes, it's a little bit bigger, blade in that category, but it's not as big as, say, this Dynapower. And it will have a little bit even less offset. So it's a very nice forgiving club with a forged face and the same kind of tech that goes into the Dynapowers. That is in the irons. Now, it just so happens I know a little bit about the Cortex, and I have not hit these yet. So I'm going to reserve opinions on these. My hope is the Cortex was I like that club. I thought it did a pretty good job. It was a little heavier, and that hence the links were a little bit shorter. So what you're going to see is a lighter club here, and probably more truer launches off of this one because of all that was going on in the Cortex. Now, which one would work better between that one or this guy? I don't know yet. I have my suspicions. But I'm going to reserve those for later. I'm going to guess based on the faces that were in the Cortex and the faces that are in this one, that these newer ones will probably feel better and probably react a little bit different. But that remains to be seen. I'm going to hold on to it. There's not a golfer from Georgia. What do you think, buddy? All right. There's Danny Johnson. He's back. Well done, sir. Thank you. Michael's in Canada. All right. Montreal. Oh, and you still got all that snow. I hate to hear that for you, brother. There's Alan saying thank you. David Rogers. What do you say, buddy? It's been a while. Hope you're all safe up in Ohio. Yep. So far. Last week we had a lot of wind. It was a tremendous amount of wind. And in the 40 to 70 mile an hour is pretty good gusts. All righty. PZ, what do you say, bud? Hello, golf people. Sorry I'm late. We're supposed to get 10 to 15 inches of snow in the next 2 days. Thank goodness for golf sims. I feel for you, man. But it gives you a chance to use that new, what'd you get it? Did you get a new Bobcat? I think it was that what you're getting. I saw you're selling the other one. But it gives you a chance to use that bad boy up. All righty. James, on my Paradigm iron fitting, they recommended steel shaft, true temper 85s. I was shocked. Recoil ES4 shafts are now in I'm 65, 14 handicap, so I'm just wondering about the steel versus graphite. Okay, so let's talk about that, James. Steel versus graphite. The difference is the construction. I mean, it sounds stupid for me to say that yet again, but steel is basically a tube, and it's extruded in order to get to certain steps or certain, you see waves in some of them, and some of them are rifled out. And with the technologies that they have nowadays, the 85 gram, what they should be telling us the 85 mph. So the 85 mph isn't exactly 85. You might find it to be just a teeny weeny little bit heavier. And then they come in flexes, okay? And I believe that's the 85 gram Elevate. And the Elevate is an excellent shaft. It really, really is. It's an excellent shaft. I would not have a problem recommending that at all. And for a lot of different people. The 85s and 95s, certainly players like shafts. The recoil, the EXS, the 430s, I believe they were in that 65 to 68 gram, I believe. I'm going to say that's what they were. And they were a little bit boardy, in my opinion. Okay, I wasn't much of a fan. And that's kind of about the time I started going away from rifle because I didn't like the QA that they were putting on them. But now with the Dart, it's coming back. I like what they're doing with the Dart. I like the profiles. I like the feel. I like the look. And I like the QA on them. So, yeah, I wouldn't be too far from that. Now, the true difference here is, James, is Steel is graphite is a vibration reducing uh, material. So it gives the perception that things are softer and that your mishits aren't nearly as missed. And that's just really the difference. Now, can you do that and can you get away with that in steel? The answer is yes. They have these vibration reducing things. Used to call them sensicores. Now they have VSS. And they got these little spongy things that you can put in the back if you want to do a home remedy, and you can do that in order to help you do that. Or you can use that, like you're asking, the was it the wind lights, right? The wind lights that would do it just as well. But I mean, when it all bears out, if you went through a fitting, they should have been able to test both of them, and you would know. And the real question, when it comes right down to it, James, is did you like it when you hit it? Right? If you, I really reinforce that when we do our fittings here is, okay, you hit it better, but did you like it? And you will be surprised at the number of times people were kind of iffing. I didn't feel the difference. Okay. But you hit it better. Did you like that? Oh, yeah, I like that part. Okay. And I'll get guys that are like, man, I know I hit it better, but I didn't like the feel of it. And in which case, that's exactly the kind of feedback as a fitter I want to hear. I want to hear that because the whole idea here is to make sure that you guys are walking away with with the look, the feel of the golf club you want, and I try and ingrain the performance. And so that we'll have to go look at something else in order to get to the same spot. All righty. Oh my goodness gracious. I wouldn't know what to do that. Yeah, I like the Apex, James. I like the Apex 21s. I think they're a great iron. And I like recoils. I'm just not a huge fan of the EXs. That's all. But I mean, if they're working for you, hey, more power to you. There we go. Start with the shaft, Jim. There you go. Michael says, I'm a senior and have regular swing speed average over 90 mile per hour. There you go, man. So, and that's why I try and not, when we do the fittings, I try and not bring that into play, right? I don't care, woman, guy, whatever. It's all about the swing speed and you can do it. I had a guy in here who was 80 uh, 83 and was swinging. And he had such a strong lower end release right here. It was just so strong. His swing speed was what you would think an 80-year-old guy would put out. But I gave him this regular, and he was still throwing it out there. At 83 years old, he was hitting a 200-yard driver. I'm like, that's pretty doggone good. So, yeah, I didn't have a problem with that. All right. What's the difference between True Temper Spinner Shaft 115 and the 200 Temper Not a Spinner? Okay, so the spinner shafts as a whole, we'll just get them really broad categories. Spinners are basically 8-iron shafts of the next flex up, cut to an 8-iron length and shaft and shoved in the club. Now the guys that make the True Temper and the spinners, what you might see in those gray labels, I think that's what they came in. They've adjusted that and they've made a wedge shaft based on that same theory. They just made wedge shafts, and that's what you're seeing in production. The S200, the 200, you got 100s, 200s, 300s, 400s, and 500s. Literally, the only difference in these S200s, 300s, 400s is weight sorting. All right, they all should be about the same in weight, except for when you buy a set of 400s, that the set is closer together in weight. From the 4 to the pitching wedge, they're all within maybe 2 grams of each other. In the 100, the width is much, much wider. Okay, that's just to give you that. And in the 200, the 200 wedge means that it's a standard wedge shaft. And again, that's not bad if it works for you, but the spinner has a little more. The spinner should have a little more kick at the bottom, so you get a little bit more snap into the ball, and you get a little bit more spin. All righty. Mark Wright, what do you say, man? When you place a mark on the shaft after flowing, you're using a Sharpie. Does that wipe off, or do you just leave it because it's on the backside? Oh no. So I use that for a couple of things. I mark the back of it, and what I'm using that for is once I get it flowed, right, and I'm using that as an alignment aid, right. So I will, for instance, yeah, this one's got one on it. So you see the Wilson right there. So what I'll do is I'll mark the shaft right along that line, and so it's an alignment aid. And then I'll glue them together. When it's all said and done, as I do in the cleanup, I normally get it when I'm addressing the ferrule. Use some acetone when I'm dressing the ferrule, and I'll clean up that line when I'm there. And I get that as well. All right, Chris S. Ice Swing 792. You are the man. Have used 95-gram shafts for over 5 years. Why do some people prefer lighter shafts? I've never understood this. Well, at 92 mile per hour, Chris, and being what would appear to be a younger fella, that you're a little stronger than most, and you're swinging a little bit faster than most, and you probably would prefer. And don't kid yourself, 95 gram is, in the world of golf, is the beginning of the lightweight shafts. So, heavier can do different things, lighter can do different things. The reason why some people would prefer lighter shafts is because of a couple of things. One, that they're a smoother swinger. Smoother swingers will always typically gravitate towards a lighter, more flexible shaft. And that's because they're not loading the club like an aggressive player would. And then it depends on your strength. If you're not very strong, let's say you're recovering from cancer treatments, or you've gone up in age, or you're younger, in the teens, you may prefer a lighter shaft. Okay, and that's the reason why you see that kind of stuff. All right. Here we go. Darren Martell, what do you say, sir? Thank you for showing up. Do you find your straight 8 Jumbo Max non-tapered somewhat slippery, or is the newness of the grip will wear away? Now that you've said that, I can see where you would come away with that. But if you're finding them to be a little bit slippery, Darren, what I would do is just take the golf towel and wipe it down with some water. It could be that you've got a film on it from. There might be a film on it from the grip, or a film on it from if you wiped it down when you're putting grips on. It makes no difference to me whether you start with the grip or the head. I enjoy all the boxes to builds. I like the tools of the trade as well. Haven't seen those in some time, so it may be time for a revisit. Yeah, if I could get Mondare to send me some stuff. I've talked to him a couple of times. He's having a day in Taiwan. It's amazing. And I tried to get him to send me some stuff. Maybe we'll do that. I like tools of the trade too. John Timmons. This Gimple golfer loves his 923 hot metals. Great feeling. Cool. John, did you get with the hot metals or hot metal high launches? I'm really interested to hear about this one, because for the old golfers, they say, oh, we want to give them the high launches so they can hit them further. Tell me what you think, bud. Darren saying hello. Oh, Danny, thank you so very much, sir. I appreciate it. Oh, these are always, these are always fun to receive. I mean, it's just neater and all get out. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. For the boxes to builds, I would like to start with the heads, then the shafts, and the grips like a fitting. Maybe some more info on what tools are used in the building process. Okay. There you go. And that's what we got up here with Steve. He said the same thing. All righty. There's Matt. I feel is very subjective. Most have a hard time noticing a difference between a shaft at 20 grams. I'm still really like a shaft. Everyone is different. You would be correct, Matt. Also, Robin, I'll see what I can do about sending you guys a little bit of snow. No, don't do it. No, don't do it. I don't want to see any of that stuff anymore. Took 3/4 of an inch off my Rogue ST Max LS Tinsy Blue regular flax. Do I need to add lead weight to the head to get it back to the same swing weight? You can, James, but they also make those they have those button weights on there. You can actually add the button weights and get a heavier one and put it back in. Now, 3/4 of an inch is pretty substantial. I get it from a swing weight point of view, but again, I'm not a big swing weight's really cool, but I'm not a big fan. Again, I'd go out and play it and see what you think. And I know the first couple of swings you're going to put on it, you're just knowing that it's going to be too light, and that's just the way it's going to be. But play a whole entire round with it or take it to the range and just see whether or not it doesn't work itself out. If it doesn't, then you got to have the extra swing weight. I would go in the aftermarket and find one of those button weights and just add it, and that way your cosmetics aren't ruined. All right. David Rogers, Jim, at what point does a person move from trying a 9-wood and losing an iron? Would there be a lower swing speed? Yeah, that's one of them. Swing speed is typically the reason why the ball, it's not quality of hit, it's almost always related to swing speed, about getting the ball up in the air. All right, because you got to hit it, it's got to launch, and it's got to go. And when you get into those taller irons, like the 4s, the 5s, that there's not very much loft on them. This is a 6, but there's not very much loft on them, and it's really hard to get that ball up in the air without a whole bunch of tech going on down here in order for it to make it go up, or tech or weight, as the case may be. Okay, and the 9-wood hybrids, all that stuff are all geared. They have the center of gravity is moved back, like this guy. Even on a 3, the center of gravity is moved back. It's not here; it's back here somewhere. And when you can in the 9-wood, it's the same thing, and that allows the ball to get up in the air so much more easily, and that's the reason why they're so popular. So yeah, there's where that's at. Emmanuel, thank you, sir. You guys are killing me. I appreciate it tremendously, sir. I really, really do. Thank you very much. All right. Okay. I would love to say your name, Nugene, but I'm afraid I would murder it. So please take my apologies in advance. Putter shaft counterbalances. Do you recommend it on all putters? If you do, can you recommend the brand? As a matter of fact, I do. I like counterbalancing. I am about 98 to 99% to the good when people counterbalance. I really do like that. There are several shafts out there, some of which you can get, some of which you cannot. But there are also things out there. If you currently like the putter that you have, they make back weights, and you can get them from Golf Works. They're called tour locks, and you can put them in the back. Now, the real trick is to figure out which one that you need, and that would be a little bit more difficult to figure out. So, but they're not that expensive. To buy 3 or 4 is certainly going to be a fraction of a cost of what the other ones would, buying a shaft would be. And you could test them and try them out on your own. Now, if you really, really, really want a counterbalance shaft out there, there are several. Stroke Lab comes to mind first, but the BGT shaft, there are some there. What's the other one? Oh, I just had it in my head. Acura has several weights, and one of the weights is a counterbalance shaft, and you go there. Typically, when you're going to do counterbalance, you're going to find some sort of graphite combination in them, and that's where I would go. Oh, Manuel's going to put graphite design in his triple diamond. Well done, buddy. There's a lot of rain in Hawaii, if you guys wanted to know. John Timmons still taking down the stadium. Went to tourney Tuesday and Sunday. Course open for play on last Monday. Usually seating up for a week. Oh, okay, cool. Have you ever experimented with a shorter driver shaft? Well, Bill, I play a 44.5-inch driver. Period. So in essence, I guess the answer is yes. The 44 and 45 and a half, 45. I did testing on shaft length years and years ago. Almost statistically, the world's worst shaft length was 45 inches. Now, as we starting to get taller, the 45 and a half may be okay because it's silly about length how it works. However, on tour, 44 and a half to 44 and 3/4 is pretty much the given standard. And they're still doing it like that. They trim it an inch, shove in the shaft, cut to 44 and a half, 44 and 3/4, out the door you go. And they all hit it a ton. They all hit it very well. They all hit it very straight. And as I'm finding out here, 45 and a half or 44 and a half is pretty much, that's a real good number. And I rarely find myself putting a stock shaft in a club. However, that's not to say never. Like I was telling you, the 70-year-old guy, he had his swing flattened out and figured out he had hit it so many drivers that he couldn't hit anything but 45 and a half. So every one of us is a little different. Yes. Now the R300 XP95 is definitely way different than the Modus 105, Michael. The 105 is a much more stiffer profile as well. I don't mind that because I am left-handed. And most of the stuff I'm showing you is. All right. Yeah, Mizuno Pro 225s would like to use graphite shaft and like to play 65, 75 gram stiff. Well, there's certainly plenty in that particular category to play, bud. Like I was telling you before, the VRTX, and they have a 60 to 70 gram shaft. The PGIs, if you're looking for something like that, they have a 60, 70 gram shaft. The Acras have something that goes all the way up and down that line. The Graphite Design actually has an iron shaft. I just haven't been able to get one and test it just yet. So yeah, there's plenty out there. Now, in a lot of those cases, you might have to remount the hosel to accept these because there's not a lot of taper tip shafts in that category. And literally that's nothing but a thing. All right, I guess I did that part. We do give back at the local course, help them clean pick, and sweet little ball flicker. My first job golf one. There you go, full circle. You're right. Jonathan Weaver. It always feels funny when golfers question if graphite iron shafts are good, then always suspect, but are all in for graphite driver shafts and fairways. Yeah, well, that's something to say. I'm finding different experience with graphite versus steel in terms of vibration feel. It could be more of a function weight than material. Graphite is feeling harsher than steel. Matt, I think that might be actually a relationship in the type of profile is what you're finding, because you get that softer butt and it's going to feel better, less harsh, as opposed to one that's not. Jack from Lombard, how you doing, buddy? Uh-oh, Camilio. Last to be here. You still down under, bud, or are you somewhere else? Paul Van Vliet, how you doing, buddy? Sorry I missed you in Cincinnati, dude. It was a ninja run, but it was that golf show was really quite cool. I'm glad that Jason's taken in the direction that they're going. I think you're going to see a lot of potential there. I have a question. Before KBS labs for shafts were available to order on the web page, but service is down now. Do you know where to find the labels now? Oh, before KBS labels for shafts were available to order on the web page, Service is down now. Do you know where to find the labels? I'm afraid I don't. That Camilio, that's where I would go with them first and foremost. All right. There are a couple more here. Cam, what do you say, buddy? Oh, you make golf fights. Will any of the Jumbo Max grips help or hurt a slice? Well, if you talk to Jumbo Max, every grip they have is perfect, but that we obviously know that that's not the case. Honestly, I can't see where it would hurt it. Well, I can see where it would hurt it. So slices are made for one of two reasons. Either one, you're deeply cutting across the ball and you're not getting what it is that you have face, you have path and you have face. And if you're going like this and the face is still in the same thing, it's going to slice. And so you're not getting the face closed. And that grip has the opportunity to delay the closing. Although, if you were to relax the grip and let it go, it might overcompensate for it, and you hit these dead pulls. The other one is that you are hitting it straight out, and you're hitting it with an open face, in which case it's going to take off in that direction and then fly over to the right. And again, the same thing would apply. So, Cam, if you got a a Jumbo Max grip. If you got a Jumbo Max grip and you actually relaxed your grip, chances are the answer to your question would be no. Okay, Andrew K. Getting a couple of drivers you would recommend for somebody has a swing speed 110 to 112, very negative angle of attack. Ooh. And if your angle of attack and you miss toe high, that means maybe a bit of a push. I'm thinking. Missing toe high, high angle of attack. Okay, so here's what I would consider just right off the bat. I would look at so number one, the high angle of attack gets me, and that would tell me to do two things. To tell you two things. Number one, a low lofted driver, and I'll show you here in a minute. Another two is tee the thing down. All right, tee the ball down. So if you're coming into the ball with a high angle attack, so this is standard, you're coming into it like that, meaning that you're hitting them up here, okay? And you're hitting them up here because if the golf ball, oh, look at that. If the golf ball is here and you're coming in, if you're teeing it up so that it's right here, okay, and you come into a negative angle attack, you get all these goose eggs across the top or in this particular area. High toe would mean that you're kind of cutting across the ball a little bit. So in essence, what I would tell you to do is tee the ball down so that it hits you in this part of the golf club, and then use a less loft, because in this particular area the curvature is a little higher and you still get out because you're punching it out there pretty high. Now the other part is that at 112, 111, 112, you're cresting into the X-flex range. So if you're using a shaft that is stiff or even less than that, and you're aggressive, you could be flexing the club around and you could get into something that is causing you inconsistency. So I would stiffen it up just a little bit, and that's where you would go. Now, as far as drivers go, I would look at something with taller faces. Okay, a taller face club would work. Now, so that's a relative term depending on each manufacturer. I'm sure TaylorMade has one. I'm sure Titleist has one. I know Callaway has one, and these guys, this Wilson one is pretty tall in its comparison as well. And you'll know that because the look at address will be smaller, so the face has got to be a little bit taller, and that's what I would look at. So a little taller face, tee the ball down a little bit, take a lower loft than that 8 to 9 degree-ish, and go with a a shaft that's more in the range of flex for you, which will tend to come in the weight, and make sure it's the right length, and you should be good to go. Went to the fielding, still not 100% sold. Okay, well, hopefully we helped. All righty. There's James again. Okay, got about 3 or 4 more, and then we got to go. Going to my first PGA golf show this Friday. What should I know before I go? I didn't know there was another PGA show, James. Well, let's go with this. Let's assume it's just like the one that's in January. I know they have another one, but I thought it was in Las Vegas, but I didn't think it was till October. So I'm not sure what I'm looking at here. But there should be a truckload of vendors for equipment, a truckload of vendors for accessories, and a truckload of vendors for clothes. So if it's truly like that, get a listing of all your vendors so that you can go see the ones that you want to see without being distracted by all the bright lights. I say that because that's happened to me. I have hot metals, not high launch. Okay. I was just wondering about that. All right. Here we go. John Imbalzano. I hope I said that right. I'd like to build my wife a starter iron set. What do you recommend for a head shaft combination? Her last set was Jan Stevenson irons. Holy smokes. Love the channel. Thank you, buddy. So, John, if you're going to build her one, I would certainly recommend the Golfworks has got a ladies set, and you can get a short set. I would certainly start there. It's very nice equipment, particularly if you're talking about a starter set, and you can pick what you want and get it in there. But I would try Golfworks right off the top. There's Fred. All right, here we go. 2 more. I reamed out the 355 to 750, but didn't tip the 375 shaft. Does that affect the flicks? Yes, it does, sir. So 370s you have to trim in order to get to the proper flex. And then what that's going to do is you're going to have to, and then that's going to, when you trim the length, that's going to be something else. So in this particular instance, what you're going to do is, like, we'll just say, for instance, for the 5-iron, you trip an inch. And then a half, and then half, and half, and half, and half. Depending on the maker, it could be 3/8, could be a ½ inch, and whatever. But the back end of it, once you've trimmed off this much at the tip, the back end ought to be relatively the same. That's a good idea. That's to tell you what's going on. All righty. Regripped your shaft, some Bing Zings. Ooh, wow. I don't see much of these customers said they still doesn't see any reason to change. Can't argue with that. Not with the Ping Eyes, man. The Ping Eyes, it's really, really hard not to like those. I've reshafted gobs in the past to go to maybe lighter shafts, but that guy's not wrong. All right, Camilio, you're the last question, and this is where we're going to have to stop. Last question, here in Australia, that's where I was wondering. I cannot find some good epoxy to change a couple of shafts. Is JB Weld good to do it? Is it the only one I can find here? So Camilio, I'm not a big fan of JB Weld, but as far as using it for golf, the thing is some really, really tough glue. But it does a lot of the JB Weld. I'm not sure about the 8281, but it does have a lot of the shear strength, and the cure times are very, very high. So once you put them together, I wouldn't suspect that you're going to get them apart, because you will absolutely burn the paint off before you get to the point where the epoxy will let go. Now, being in Australia, the best source would be Singapore. There's a lot of folks over there that have that kind of stuff. To the point, Golf Mechanics. Golf Mechanics is in that neck of the woods. I would look them up and see if they can't send you something over there. Okay, guys, there is a lot going on here, and I would love to stay, but I really have to go. And I thank you. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna break my own rule. Before Callaway wedges, I remember that you were playing Wilson staff. How do you compare both? The Wilson staff, I like the sole, but they felt a little harsh to me. The Callaways feel a little softer. But I think they're both. When I give the Wilsons to a lot of different players, they're just absolutely beside themselves in how good they feel. I think they're both excellent clubs. All right. Thank you, Neil. I still want to play extra stiff in 70 grams. All right. Well, 70 grams and getting extra stiff might be a bit of a trial, but you can trim some down and get pretty doggone close. All right. John says, awesome. Thank you. Very good. And Jane Golf in Malaysia. There you go. Hey, good deal. Andrew, you have a great evening as well. Okay, I actually made I had to skip. I'm sorry I had to do that, but that's where we're at. Guys, remember to like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Watch for the videos that we're going to release tomorrow, and there's probably going to be one the day after as well. As usual, I appreciate it. Thank you for the super stickers, you guys. I get tickled by that. I think that's great. And as always, guys, let's see your scores. Go low.